Welcome to the 3 Life Lessons podcast, where I, Rob Hubbard, talk to renowned figures from learning and development to uncover the secrets to their success and find out what makes them tick. Remember to like, subscribe and follow to ensure that you never miss an episode. So today I have with me one of the pioneers in the world of AI and learning and development. So our guest researches, experiments and advises L&D teams on how to make smart use of AI and how to lead its rollout across their organisations. With a degree in human development and psychology from Harvard, our guest has spent the last 8 years at the intersection of learning science and the latest technology, and you can regularly find them speaking at international conferences. Welcome, Egle Vinauskaite.
Glad to be here, Rob.
Wonderful to have you. So I think you know what my first question is going to be. So can you tell our audience, what is it that you're doing now for a living, and what's the route that you took to get there, please?
Well, you kind of introduced me and explained what I do better than I expected to, that you would. I am an AI learning and technology consultant. I work with organizations either on integrating AI into their either operations or learning programs, on helping them adopt AI in the broader organization, or on your usual human skills that we're gonna need more than ever in the coming years.
Very good. And what was the route you took to get there? So give us a little bit of an overview of your kind of career up to this point.
Oh yeah, so it was a squiggly career.
Another one of those. Yeah.
Well, I describe, so I had a first career. I got my first degree in economics and I worked as a financial analyst. And after that, I had a bit of a quarter life crisis and decided that I wanted to do something where I help people develop themselves, but in a tangible way. I was also interested in technology as well. So I got education, how humans, how people learn, how adults learn, behavioral science, all those things, and then I started working in learning and technology. So here I am, and it's been I never expected to find myself where I am now, even in learning and tech. I happened to work with some really interesting smaller teams and product teams, edtech products, both B2B, which we all know, but also B2C, so people who just help people learn with technology, but they are in no way related to the corporate learning scene. And that was a revelation, just working on learning and technology as a product. And here I am.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, I don't think it's luck. I think we make our own luck by working hard and learning the stuff we need to learn and getting ourselves in the right position so that those opportunities do come along. And, I think that's you're a case in point of that. So, Egle, I mean, what is the first life lesson that you would like to share with our audience?
So I have one that is a classic, which is keep your promises. Which is very simply do what you said you're going to do. So everyone knows that this is what you're supposed to do. However, that also you also have to do that when you don't feel like delivering on your promise, or when you realize that you have overpromised and it's going to take more effort and time than you initially expected, and you still need to deliver that, and then eat up your mistake. Learn for next time, because these moments are when you learn. These moments are when you build trust and credibility in other people's eyes. So, you might have a little bit of a sleepless night or more stress than you had signed up for, but it's worth it in the end for your professional or personal relationship with a person. So. Obviously, when we think about that, we think about these big projects. Of course, you promise to a client that you're going to do something, you do something. But it's even the small things. For example, if you said that you're going to deliver by Tuesday 2 p.m., this is when you're going to do this, or you said you're going to reply or whatever. If you feel like you're not going to be able to do that by Tuesday 2 p.m., then don't promise that. Say that you're going to do it by the end of Tuesday or by Wednesday morning. Because these are the small moments where you either build more trust or chip away at the trust that you have in the relationship. So another example is, be the person who is on time, because it's a commitment you make to another person once you schedule something, and you should be the person who is on time always, or as much as you can, but especially if you're asking for someone else's time. So I have this concept that I call the leave it with me people. They're the people, I have had some of them, I have worked with some of them in my career, where you're working on a project, solving a problem, whatever, or even in your personal life, organizing a vacation or some fun activity, and they say, leave it with me. And you trust them enough, they've earned enough trust for you to just pretty much to make the slate blank in your head, because you trust that. You don't need to worry about that anymore. And I would say that at a high level, my advice would be that person.
Yeah. Very nice. So I think that touches on a few things there. So there's kind of great respect for others and their time and their work. There's also, I think, integrity underpins that, of doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. You need to have quite a high level of integrity to follow through on that. As you say, even when it's a bit hard, even when it's a bit tough, maybe it's more work than you're expecting, or you've got other things that are going on. I think that takes huge integrity to do that. But you're absolutely right. That's how you build a reputation like you have. That's how people know they can trust you. I think that's a brilliant life lesson.
Yeah. I'm glad you agree with that. But again, it's one of these things where it's a classic. Everyone knows that, but so many people actually execute on that, to your point, when it's hard. And that's when it matters.
Yeah. There are things that lots of people say, but then few people actually back up and follow through. It's easy to say that is a value, or to tell the truth, or to be fair, but it's the people that are able to do those things when the times are hard. Not to get too political, but it would be quite nice if there was more of that perhaps in some political circles. Would be useful, that level of integrity and of intent. But anyway, before we go down that rabbit hole, let's go on to your second life lesson, please. What would you like to share?
So while the first one is a classic and a lesson that I have followed since the beginning of my career, the second one is quite new. This is something that took me over a decade to figure out.
Right.
And it is this observation of mine that mental health or mental state fuels everything else. Things that seem impossible when you feel low, they are effortless when you are feeling all right. And you cannot talk yourself out of it. You cannot get coached out of it. Sometimes you have to power through because there is no other way for because of various life circumstances. Sometimes you have to do that, but this cannot be your go-to solution for how you go about life. It's just not a life well lived. And for myself, there was a moment in the past few years when I reached my limit, and it wasn't a professional thing. It was a personal thing, but it colored every facet of my life. So I had to learn how my nervous system operates, and I had to learn what I have in my toolbox to manage it. And it was such a revelation for me. And I would say that if there is one thing that I realized is that mental health starts not with a mindset, be positive, overcome your limitations or whatever. It's biology, and once you take care of that, everything else is built on that foundation.
Fascinating. So, I mean, that hints at, do you have kind of certain things that you do to look after yourself and look after your mental health? Are there kind of exercise regimes or things that you eat or things that you devote time to? How do you maintain that?
I actually have a very elaborate regime, which also is probably not something that it's very individual. Things that work for me are not going to work for other people. But I think there are two things that are universal, and if there are two things I could advise other people to do, the highest reward things is sleep. You cannot correct a lack of sleep. It just keeps showing up in very small ways for the remainder of your day. So one massive change that I've made for myself is that because I like working nights. And is that I now have later mornings. So, for example, I do not start my work very early in the morning. I started from something like 10 a.m., for example, to give myself time to sort of transition into the work mode.
Yeah.
And if I had a late night the night prior, to actually get enough sleep. I just, as much as I can, I do not compromise on sleep. If I if I have to travel somewhere, I book a flight which does not require me to wake up early. So things like
Yeah.
that, small things like sleep is the absolute priority.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is connection, in-person connection with other people, deep connection with other people, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when you're in a state where you don't feel like hanging out with others or seeing someone where you just want to be a burrito. That's when it matters. And I think we really underestimate the role that friends play in our lives and how
Yeah.
how special they are. We talk a lot about work and work relationships. Obviously, we talk about a lot about family and romantic relationships, but we just really don't talk enough about how special it is to have people you can have a deep conversation with. And if you think about, if you think about how you feel after a free hour, heart to heart with someone you care about and someone who cares
Yeah.
about you. It's just there's something physical, there's something very soothing,
Uh,
and yeah, that's just something that I feel is an essential ingredient to a life well lived, and obviously that is the foundation. And then if we talk about any kind of work performance, creativity, energy, all of these things, it is built on the same foundation.
they flow from there. Oh, fantastic. I mean, two wonderful, important things for people to do to take care of themselves. It's interesting. We've been running a kind of longitudinal creativity study on when people are at their most creative, and there are quite a few people who, like you, are night owls. So you're probably just getting into your stride about now, I guess, aren't you? You're kind of like really, this is like
Yeah, just
lunchtime
getting
for
started.
you, ready to go. And I've got to admit, in preparation for this recording, I had a little power nap earlier on because I've had a few sort of early starts, and I had another early start today, and I was a little bit tired, so I had a half hour sleep next to the cat upstairs on the bed, and that really helped.
I
But yeah,
approve.
that connecting with friends and really valuing that as well is something which, speaking as a middle-aged man, this is something that we're pretty terrible at. I do get together, and we have a music jam where a whole load of musicians get together, and we just freeform music. Basically, we just make it in the moment, and you can switch between instruments and play whatever you want. It's pretty relaxed, but people there are from sometimes younger people come along, but most people are kind of 30s up to 70s, and we just get together and play. But then we don't actually talk. We just turn up. Everybody's got stuff going on in their lives. Some people have got serious illnesses or relationship breakdowns, or they're losing their job, or they need to find a job, or whatever. And we get together for 3 hours once a week. We talk about none of it, and we just play music together. And the music just ebbs and flows in this kind of wonderful way where, somebody will take it off in a particular direction and others will kind of join them. And somehow that is very therapeutic. I call it music therapy, sort of jokingly, but
I
it
think
really is.
it's the same thing. It's the same connection. I get it through conversation.
Yeah,
You get it through that connection and being in the on the same wavelength, quite
yeah, that's
literally,
it. You're in
as
flow.
other people. Yeah, so it is. Yeah, and it's so easy to deprioritize these moments.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm tired or whatever. It's gonna take a lot of time. I'm gonna do it next week, but you have to do it.
yeah, absolutely. Great advice. So we're on to our third and final life lesson you'd like to share. What's your last one?
My last one is that the word no is how you make time. And this is something that I'm still testing out. So I wonder what my wisdom is going to be about it in the next few years. But I I've noticed that I almost never regret my no's, but I have come to regret a few yeses. And it's very, there's a lot of nuance there, because of course you have to, of course you have to pay it forward. Of course you have to help other people, even if there's nothing for you there in return. Absolutely. But I'm talking about situations where doing something for others means that, like, when you cannot do something for others anymore. When doing something for others means that you cannot do something, you cannot do another thing for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to say no to things. You know, of course, you know, for example, in work settings, there's FOMO. What if there's this big opportunity just around the corner, or it might be just awkward. You don't want to come across as rude or self-important. And of course, there are situations where you really, really want to do something, but you just cannot, or you're going to overcommit. You're going to start dropping balls, and you have to begrudgingly say no. And this is something that I'm learning right now. And after finding myself in situations where I would literally spend hours or days working on things that were not either very interesting or nourishing or in any way very important to me, and I would have to do then the rest of my work, my actual work, in the quite late at night, and skip rest altogether. And I don't think that's sustainable. No. And there are two quotes that I've picked up over my life. One is from one of my first managers, Michael. He said once he noticed my tendency to do that, as a lot of us, have that tendency to say yes to whatever comes your way. He said to me that you cannot build a career by running yourself into the ground.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was a really good thing to hear in your early 20s, so that's quite nice. Took me another decade to actually understand what he meant. And another is from my friend Oliver, who said this thing that has really stuck with me about my schedule, productivity, all of these things. And he said that it's not just about time management, energy management matters just as much. So it's not about being super efficient, productive, and just optimizing your calendar and your time and always wanting an outcome. There is time which is completely unproductive, just rest time. And when you're comparing it with something that you might be tempted to do, it might seem like it's a slam dunk. It's just time when nothing's happening, and here I can do something productive. But actually it's equally important, and it just has a different currency that it's very difficult to compare to the currency of productivity. So there's always an opportunity cost.
Yeah, that is fascinating. The most successful year we've ever had in business was one where it was a couple of years ago, and just coincidentally I ended up having roughly 1 in every 4 or 5 weeks off for holiday, for doing stuff. That was just how it kind of fell. There were various things I was doing, family holidays or walking up mountains or mountain biking or sailing or whatever. And that wasn't for the whole year, but that was from kind of May through till October. We had our most successful year that the business has ever had. And it's like, and I had a wonderful time. It was fantastic. And I keep saying this to Tess, like, do you see, there's a pattern here. I think I should have more holidays. He's like, no, get back, carry on working. So I'm trying to get back towards that. But you're so right. It's so important to have that discipline to be able to say no. I'm not very good at that. It certainly is challenging. How do you kind of make the decision? How do you kind of weigh up something that you could do and decide? Do you kind of have like goals or things that you're aiming towards, and you kind of look and say, well, is that helping me towards there, or is that giving enough value to them? How do you make that call?
Some decisions are very easy because, for example, if that's work related, it's very easy to know that, okay, that's something that's interesting to me, or that's going to take me to in a direction I want to go into. So that's quite easy. But when I'm on the fence, And that happens often when I'm super busy and I'm just, getting through my to-do list, and then something comes up, and it's very difficult for me to tell, what to do with it. For me, one thing that has worked very well is to take a step back, perhaps, not respond immediately, maybe wait until the evening, maybe go for a walk, just take a break from the rush of it all, and ask myself, do I want to do it? And the answer comes quite quickly. Or is there something that, like this request, is there something in that request that would have to change for you to want to do it? Because these answers are, if you have to justify something for very long, that means that you don't want to do it.
Yeah, very good. I love that filter, and that giving yourself a bit of time and space to consider it and then make a decision and come back, I think, is brilliant advice. Well, 3 wonderful life lessons there. I'm so glad to have had you here as a guest. There's been loads for me to learn, loads for our audience to learn as well. Thank you, Egle.
Thanks.
If you've enjoyed learning those 3 life lessons, then make sure that you like, subscribe and follow so that you never miss an episode.